So what is going on, everyone? Fernando Silva here with another video, and today we're going to be talking about some accessories that are going to make the M1 iPad Pro worth owning. Because I've been using the M1 iPad Pro for about a month now and playing with a bunch of different accessories for both productivity, leisure, you pretty much name it, and we're going to be going over a lot of those accessories today. So without further ado, let's get it started. So to get started with this video, we got to talk about the actual iPad that we're using, right? So I have the base model 12.9-inch M1 iPad Pro. So the $1,100 model, 128 gigs of storage, 8 gigs of RAM, no 5G, just purely Wi-Fi. And the reason I went with that one is because I wanted the cheapest, entry point into getting that mini LED display and that Thunderbolt port that comes with both the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch M1 iPads. And then on the iPad itself, I usually just have my Paperlike screen protector, and then on my older one, I did have a dbrand skin on it, and I will be getting a new dbrand skin on this iPad Pro when, MKBHD drops his icon set again with dbrand. Once that one comes in, I'll order it for the back of the iPad Pro, and that's how I'll have my iPad Pro pretty much until I'm ready for a new iPad Pro. So the first category of accessories we're going to talk about is overall productivity, right? So these are pretty much peripherals like keyboards, mice, things like that to allow you to interact with your device itself, right? And that's the category that we're going to go with. And the first two that we're going to have to start off with, which are going to be pretty easy, you can skip over this, are just the Magic Keyboard and the Apple Pencil. Magic Keyboard, yes, it's very, very expensive, but there's a reason why it's expensive. It's because it works perfectly. It's the best accessory from a function standpoint that you're going to get for the iPad Pro from a mouse, trackpad, and actual keyboard functionality. You have that cool levitating design that everybody's talked about. So overall, for $350, yes, it's expensive, but it's worth it if your iPad especially is your main computer. And I think there are some Prime deals going around. I think at last I saw, they were having the old Magic Keyboard on sale for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro for $200 versus $350. And again, the old Magic Keyboard, if you can find them on sale, it will work with your M1 iPad Pro. Don't think that you have to buy the new Magic Keyboard because there's nothing different with it. And then obviously I have the Apple Pencil 2 on there. I have been using it more and more in terms of for thumbnail designs and things like that. So I do use it a lot for note-taking and then also using rough draft thumbnail designs. But outside of that, I don't use the Apple Pencil whatsoever. A lot of people use it for drawing, for note-taking, for design work, for more accurate pinpoint touch instead of using your finger. But for the most part, I'm using the Magic Keyboard, the trackpad, my finger to touch the screen, and then the Apple Pencil is actually third on that list on how I interact with the actual iPad Pro. And then for an on-the-go mouse that I use a lot with the Magic Keyboard in conjunction with it is the MX Anywhere S2. And if you guys have been following the channel, if you've been around since the very beginning, then you'll know that I've had this Anywhere S2 for at least 18 months, maybe 2 years now at this point. The only downfall about it is that it is a micro USB to charge, but again, they already released the S3 version, and that one is a USB-C. So if you do want to spend, I think, the extra $20 to get the newer version, go with that one. But if you're okay with micro USB, from a function standpoint, the S2 is identical to the S3 because you get 3 different computers that you can connect to, whether it is your iPhone, iPad, or MacBook, or a Windows computer if you want. You can download the app to configure everything. So overall, I love the S2, and it works very well with that 13.4 cursor support. So I use the trackpad on the Magic Keyboard and the actual MX mouse to interact with the iPad Pro whenever I'm getting a lot of work done. These next two items are if you like to dock your iPad Pro or use it at a desk. So I use a Satechi X1 Slim keyboard. It is a compact keyboard. It doesn't have the number pad. They do offer one with the number pad, but I like it to be a little bit more compact, a little bit more minimal. So I love the Satechi keyboard, right? It does the same thing as the mouse. So you can connect it to 3 different devices. It's got that chiclet style keyboard. I would consider it like as close as you can get to the Apple Magic Keyboard, not the Magic Keyboard for the iPad, but the regular keyboard that they sell. I think it's as close as you can get to actually getting a Magic Keyboard from Apple, but you're getting it from Satechi, and they do have that cool like aluminum and then black key colorway, which I really, really like. Because if you want to get that for the iPad from Apple, you're spending about $150 versus this one I think is anywhere from like $70 to $100 depending on when you actually buy it. And then another thing that I do recommend, especially if you are using it at your desk, if you're using your iPad as your main desk computer, get the Magic Trackpad. Get the trackpad from Apple because it's the best way to interact. The touch interface that the iPad goes through with that Magic Trackpad is unparalleled. The only other trackpad that is pretty much the same as that one is gonna be the Magic Keyboard trackpad, but this one is a little bit more external, and then you can use it with your iPad being a little bit farther away from you. So those are the two that I would use for a desktop solution. And then I do have some other keyboard case alternatives which I'm gonna be reviewing moving forward. Like we got the Bridge one coming in. We also have a couple of no-name brands from Amazon that have a trackpad that are in the $50 to $100 price point that I want to try out and see how that trackpad compares to the Magic Keyboard trackpad. But definitely stay subscribed if you guys want to find out a little bit more about those and some better cost-saving solutions compared to the Magic Keyboard. And then I'm going to move to audio now. So in terms of audio, for anything that I'm not doing at my desk, I'm using AirPods Pro. I've been using those AirPods Pro since the day they came out, and I have a Pitaka case on them with a little carabiner to hold it on or clip it to whatever I want. But these AirPods Pro are amazing. Spatial audio is out of this world. And I do believe that my spatial audio and then the auto switching feature that AirPods have between macOS, iOS, and iPadOS, and it did get a little bit better with the M1 iPad Pro, and I just think that's because the M1 iPad Pro is newer, so it has the newer chips in there. I believe it runs off the U1 chip for connectivity. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that it has gotten better, and spatial audio is actually wonderful. And if you use Spotify and listen to Joe Rogan, it's very weird, very trippy. It makes you feel like you're in the room with them. So definitely take a listen if you guys have access to spatial audio on the M1 iPad Pro. But if I'm not on the go and I'm not using the headphones, then I have a HomePod Mini that I use on my desk, which gets used about 20% of the time, I would say. But other than that, those are my two speakers or audio solutions of choice. Okay, so now let's talk about storage for both a physical space, so like how to store all your peripherals, and then also, software storage, right? So SSDs. So the first thing I'm gonna show off is this cool OriGrid thing. Yes, it has my logo on it, but this is not my product. I'm not creating this product, or I'm not manufacturing it. Somebody actually sent this over, very nice of them, and they just imprinted my logo on there. But I honestly think this is a very cool idea, right? So I guess the idea with this thing is to have your iPad Pro and whatever you're carrying, so with the Magic Keyboard, be everything, right? So you're not gonna need a backpack or a separate carrying case or anything like that. So this is basically an OriGrid. So it slips onto the back of your Magic Keyboard with these two kind of like sock mechanism things. You make sure it's nice and tidy on there. It has a decent amount of hold and stretch, so it does kind of conform to the fit of the Magic Keyboard. And then once it's on there, you can just slap your actual iPad on there because it doesn't block the 3-pin connectors. And then the cloth that holds it in there isn't thick enough to deter those 3-pin connectors either. So from a function standpoint, it works. And then on the back, you now have a cool OriGrid, which you can slide whatever you need in there, cables, pencils, SSDs, whatever you want. And then you have two pockets. One pocket with a little clasp, and then the other one is a zipper pocket, a little bit longer, probably for, let's say, an external battery or something like that. So I think this is a great idea, especially once I can start to use an external SSD with LumaFusion to work off of that SSD. I can see myself putting the SSD, just kind of clipping it on the back of there and just having it always plugged into my iPad Pro, which is a solution that I'm kind of looking for once LumaFusion adds that functionality to LumaFusion 3.0. But shout out to the company that sent this over. This was awesome. I'll leave a link to all these products along with this one down below if you guys want to check them out. But overall, this is a really cool solution, and I do think they come in a bunch of different colors, but I'm going to play around with it a little bit more to see how the durability is before I fully recommend it to anybody. And then in terms of actual storage, I have a 500 gigabyte SSD from RAVPower. It is not an NVMe storage, but with the Thunderbolt port on the actual iPad Pro, even though I have a USB-C hard drive, not a Thunderbolt hard drive or SSD, the transfer speeds are kind of amplified. So normally with a RAVPower SSD, it peaks at 540 megabytes per second. And then when using a USB-C port, you rarely get to that top peak number. You're usually sitting around 250, 300 megabytes per second, but when you use it with a Thunderbolt port, the Thunderbolt amplifies that transfer speed, and now you're hovering at around that peak transfer speed of 500, 520. I didn't see it touch 540, but around 520, I was getting those transfer speeds. So it just makes my current SSD that much better if you don't want to go out and get a Thunderbolt SSD. But I will link both regular SSDs and some Thunderbolt SSDs down below if you guys want to check some out. So now let's talk about actual USB-C hubs. And we actually have a couple because there's so many out there at so many different price points that do so many different things that I wanted to give you guys kind of an all-encompassing one, right? We'll start from cheapest to most expensive. So the first one is the Hyperdrive by Satechi. It's very simple, very compact. All it has is 4 ports, a USB-C PD power pass-through, USB-A, HDMI, and an auxiliary. So if you need something quick on the go, that's perfect if all you need is an HDMI port and maybe to transfer something from a USB-C stick or something like that. And then if you want to go with a little bit more, I have another dongle by Andobil. Now this one has a lot more ports. It's a 9-in-1, has micro SD and SD card slots. It has 3 USB-A ports. It does hang off a little bit. It does hang off the actual iPad, but it's a great portable 9-in-1 that I would recommend to anybody that needs a little bit more than what the Hyperdrive has. And then we move on to actual more dock solutions, right? So the first one we have is by Satechi, which you guys, I had a whole review on that one. It's awesome. It acts as a stand and a hub. So if you are in that desktop solution situation with your iPad Pro, that Satechi stand is gonna be awesome. Yes, it doesn't have any viewing angles. It has just the one propped up angle. But if you're okay with that one angle, then you have all your ports on the back of your iPad. Everything kind of runs through the back of the desk. So it's very clean, very organized. I do wish that they had the headphone jack at the front, so it's easy to plug in some headphones, but you know, you win some, you lose some. And then I have another one by a company called Lention, which is a similar concept to Satechi, but it's from a different company. And it does pretty much the same thing. So it's a stand hub for the iPad Pro. Still testing out the Lention one, so be on the lookout for a video review on that one. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied with all 4 of these hubs, depending on what situation that you're in. If you're on the go, I would recommend the first 2. If you're stationed somewhere, I would recommend the second 2. And these are all USB-C docks, so they will work with the 2018, 2020, and the 2021. These are not Thunderbolt docks. So I have not actually played with any of those yet, because they come at a premium usually, because of the more advanced transfer speeds, the better data pass-through, things like that. And then for power, I actually bring a couple things with me. So for a battery pack, I have a 20 milliamp hour RAV Power SSD that has a USB-A port, USB-C port, and then also has a 120 volt out, so a regular just wall plug-in. So what's amazing about that is that I can literally grab any size brick, whether it's a 5-watt brick or a 100-watt brick, and power my device at that speed. So yes, it'll drain the battery a lot faster if you're using a 100 or 80-watt power brick, but at the same time, that doesn't really matter because you're just powering whatever you need to have power. It'll charge your iPad Pro twice over, because I think the iPad Pro battery is anywhere from 9 to 10,000 milliamp hours. So it'll charge it, especially if you're not using it, it'll charge it twice over, which is perfect. And then, like I said, it's ready. It's 20,000 milliamps, so you can charge your iPhone, your AirPods, anything that you would need with this one. And then I also have one by Satechi, which is only about 5,000 milliamps, but it has a built-in Apple Watch charger, has a built-in wireless Qi charger on top, and also has a USB-A and USB-C. So if you want something that's a little bit more versatile, grab the Satechi one, and then if not, that RAV Power one will help you out in any pickle that you're in, no matter what situation you're in. And then I wanted to throw in some miscellaneous items for pretty much cleanliness, right? So I have a TouchSmart, which I do put directly on the paper-like protector, so it's not actually touching the glass screen, but it is touching the iPad. But I like to clean it at least once a week. It also helps a ton with the keyboard. And then I have this like tech goop that you literally just roll over your keyboard or roll over any dirty parts, and it'll just kind of like attract all the debris and dust and things like that. So those are the miscellaneous items that I usually carry with me. And then I also have a little Satechi plug-in for the Apple Watch and the AirPods Pro if I ever need to just plug into a USB-C port and charge those guys wirelessly. But overall, those are my main recommendations for the M1 iPad Pro. Hopefully you guys can see that I tried to show off some items that are both on the budget side and a little bit more premium side, just to give you guys a little spectrum of what you can get for your money, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our experience is as good as possible with these M1 iPad Pros, and we use it to the best of our ability, but also not break the bank, because we already spent $1,100 on that iPad Pro at a minimum, right? Which is kind of crazy to think about. But that's going to do for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Like I said, everything will be linked in the description below. If you guys use those links, it'll help the channel out a little bit, especially if you go through Amazon. It'll give us a little kickback. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, check out channel sponsor Paperlike. If you guys made it to the end, you guys are legends, and comment below some new video ideas. We should be getting iPadOS 15 Beta 2 this week, so we'll definitely get a video on that and see how we're doing. We got some iPad Pro desk setup videos coming up too, but let me know in the comments below exactly what you want to see. Maybe it's some day in the life videos, things like that. But until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Peace.